Hello everyone. This is week 11, complications. This week we'll discuss on-bottom complications found in chapter 10 of the Well Control Manual. Chapter 10 covers complications that occur when we're on bottom or very close to bottom. We'll look at upward gas migration while we're shut in, surface equipment problems, subsurface equipment problems, and excessive well pressures. Here we'll look at pump failure and gas migration, plugged and washed out chokes, and also plugged and washed out nozzles. I'd also like to mention a string washout. Chapter 10 discusses what to do when you have a washout in the string. You can identify a string washout above the kick by seeing drill pipe pressure become equal to casing pressure when the pumps are shut down. If the kick is already above the washout, it becomes much more difficult to differentiate between a string washout and a bit washout. What are the signs of a pump failure? A total pump failure is pretty obvious as you see the pump pressure and the pump rate start decreasing. What might be more difficult to catch is a pump problem where the efficiency is reduced either as a result of a leaking valve seat or a pump cavitating. If this isn't noticed, it is likely to result in additional pressure being added into the system. What are the signs of gas migration? Drill pipe and casing pressure start to rise. Gas migration is a normal phenomenon that occurs as a result in the difference in density between the gas and the mud. Gas migration rates can vary, with brine being one of the fastest and a viscous mud being one of the slowest. A rule of thumb is 1,000 feet per hour. This increase in pressure should not be ignored. The possibility to bring tremendous unmanageable pressure to surface exists if gas migration is ignored. Before we get started, we'll look at the case where the kick is taken into the hole. We will add a 50 psi safety margin. It looks something like this. This occurs as the gas begins to migrate up. Then, to handle this gas migration, we will bleed a small volume of mud to keep drill pipe pressure in 100 psi working range. So every time we see the pressure rise another 100 pounds over our safety margin, we'll bleed the pressure back down. So we'll bleed in a small, slow way, roughly 1/2 barrel increments, to be sure that the pressure isn't lowered too much, which would allow additional kick into the hole. If the gas reaches surface, casing pressure will remain static and the well should be monitored until the pumps are available. The pumps can be brought up to speed with the gas at surface with little choke adjustment because there will be a large volume of compressible low viscosity gas at surface. Please note, if the gas is close to surface, the casing pressure may tend to increase rapidly, and under these conditions it may be best to allow the gas to reach surface before starting up the pumps. What do we do when the pumps are back online? Remember, we were controlling the pressure by opening the choke to bleed the pressure in the range, to keep the drill pipe pressure in the range of 150 to 50 psi over what our shut-in stabilized drill pipe pressure was. Now we're going to keep constant bottom hole pressure slightly above formation pressure by doing a pump startup where we keep casing pressure constant. That's assuming that we're on shore, or we adjust casing pressure for a frictional pressure loss in the choke line if we're offshore. Remember, the casing pressure changes in the short term are indicative of bottom hole pressure. What are the signs of a plugged choke? With the plugged choke, we see the drill pipe pressure and the casing pressure start to increase unexpectedly. This can be somewhat rapidly. What are the signs of a washed out choke? We see the drill pipe pressure and the casing pressure start to decrease unexpectedly. Usually this is not quite as rapid. What are the solutions for the plugged or washed out choke? You'll have to switch from the remote choke to the manual choke. This will require you to realign the valves in the choke manifold. What are the signs of a plug bit or a plug nozzle? We'll see that the drill pipe pressure will increase while the casing pressure should remain constant. What are the signs of a washed out bit or washed out nozzle? We'll see that the drill pipe pressure will decrease while the casing pressure remains constant. Remember, as we pump down the drill pipe with a plug bit or plug nozzle, we'll see that the drill pipe pressure increases while the casing pressure remains constant. For the case of a plug bit, we'll need to adjust our circulating pressures to account for this increase in pressure. Likewise here, while we're pumping down the drill pipe for a washed out bit or washed out nozzle, we'll see the drill pipe pressure decrease. For the case of a washed out nozzle or washed out bit, we'll need to account for the circulating pressures to be lower to match this corresponding decrease. Now that we know how to diagnose some of these problems, let's not forget our objective. Remember, the objective is to keep constant bottom hole pressure slightly above the formation pressure.